Case Study Number 4, EmporionX Insider Trading Analysis of COAG. In this fourth case study, let's take a look at how EmporionX can be used to investigate insider trading activity within a specific sector and industry. For this example, we'll focus on the healthcare sector and the biotechnology industry, using a customized date range from June 15th through June 22nd, 2026. Once the sector, industry, and date range are selected, EmporionX allows us to quickly narrow down the insider trading activity that matters to us. We can then click Plot 2D to visualize the top insider trading activity during this period. This gives us a much faster way to identify where the most significant insider transactions are taking place, instead of having to manually review hundreds of individual Form 4 filings. The 2D ranking immediately highlights the companies with the largest insider trading activity during our selected period. In this example, COAG, or COAG Healthcare, stands out clearly at the top of the ranking, with approximately $1.69 million in insider purchase activity. This is significantly larger than the second-ranked company, making COAG an obvious candidate for further investigation. By simply moving our cursor over the COAG bar, EmporionX reveals the underlying transaction details. We can see that on June 15, 2026, RA Capital Management LP, identified as a 10% owner, purchased approximately 67,669 shares at $24.97 per share, for a total transaction value of approximately $1.69 million. This is an important distinction. The ranking doesn't just tell us that insider buying occurred. It helps us identify the largest and potentially most meaningful transactions, and then lets us drill down to the actual filing level details behind the ranking. Now, let's take a closer look at COAG. The interactive chart allows us to examine the individual transaction behind the ranking. Here, we can see the June 15th purchase of approximately $1.69 million highlighted directly on the chart. This transaction is particularly interesting because the purchase was made by a 10% owner, rather than simply a routine transaction by a corporate executive. The combination of the transaction size and the insider's ownership status gives us a reason to investigate further. But the key question is this an isolated purchase, or is there a broader pattern of insider accumulation? That's where EmporionX's historical transaction lookup becomes especially useful. By entering the COAG ticker into the symbol search, EmporionX gives us a broader view of the company's insider trading history. Now we can see that the June 15th purchase was not an isolated event. RA Capital Management LP had also purchased shares on May 19th, May 12th, and May 7th. In other words, we are seeing a series of purchases over several weeks, with the latest transaction being substantially larger than the earlier ones. This historical context is important. A single large insider purchase can certainly attract attention, but a repeated pattern of insider buying, especially when the purchases are made by a significant shareholder, may provide a much stronger signal for further research. EmporionX makes this process much easier by connecting the high-level ranking with the underlying transactions and the company's historical insider activity. In just a few steps, we went from screening an entire industry to identifying the largest insider transaction, to examining the individual Form 4 transaction, and finally to discovering a broader pattern of repeated insider purchases. This is the core value of EmporionX, turning a large amount of insider trading data into a focused, actionable research workflow. Of course, insider buying should never be viewed as a guarantee that a stock will rise. Instead, it can serve as a valuable starting point for deeper fundamental and market analysis. With EmporionX, investors can quickly identify these signals and then investigate the underlying activity for themselves. Thanks for watching, and please sign up to explore the full access to EmporionX Insider Trading Analytics platform.